Tough one. A few weeks ago, we had a special event here at Good Shepherd called Lutherfest. As you might recall if you were here, there was German dancing that morning, German food. We learned a little bit about Martin Luther. There were skits. There were a lot of games and experiences for the kids. One of the games didn't necessarily have a full-blown lesson attached to it, but it was the way we got the kids some food. We had a cupcake walk, 10 little discs on the floor that we had German Oompa music playing. The kids walked in a circle. When the music stops, you stay put where you are. The discs have numbers. Sarah would, from the hat, pull out a number. And if your number was so lucky to be called, you got a cupcake. And you didn't have to put money down to participate. You played several times, and somehow Sarah always got your number picked. I don't think anyone was disappointed. Wouldn't it be nice if life was like that? If it was a cupcake walk, it would be nice if it was just so simple as that. But we know life has plenty of hardships. Life has plenty of trials. There are troubles that we face that can derail us, that can paralyze us from moving forward, that can cause us to turn inward or focus on things that take us off the path of following Jesus. Okay? Let me just show you a picture here this morning. How many of you know what that's a picture of? Okay, most of you got that it's an arch of some sort. This is the Arch of Titus, which is in the Forum in Rome. It's not far from the Colosseum where the old gladiator fights would have occurred. The Roman emperors, what they liked to do was leave a legacy of their achievements and their conquests, and they would often do it in architecture, and a lot of times they would tell of their conquest literally on some of the monuments they made. So on the Arch of Titus, Titus was the emperor in 70 A.D., this is on the Arch of Titus, which what you'll see there is it's showing menorah, it's showing the sacred objects in the Temple of Jerusalem being taken away by the Roman army. They're telling the story of how they looted it, confiscated it, took away all the riches, brought it back to Rome. And what else did they do? We're just going to move beyond that. I'll go back to that one. But what else they did to the temple besides carting it all away is they set the Temple Mount on fire. The holiest place on earth, the place Jews considered the place where God dwelled, they set it on fire. The historian Josephus, in his writings, describes the event of 70 A.D. and what happened. He says some of the Jewish followers were on the Mount of Olives watching down as the city was on fire. They were groaning and crying to the point where they could no longer get anything out, when all of a sudden the Holy of Holies started burning on fire. They recaptured their ability to wail and lament in that moment. But they said, Josephus says, yet more awful than all that was the suffering that was occurring down below. It's not a pleasant memory, but this is what remains. Some of you will recall that is the Wailing Western Wall that is one small piece of the temple that remains. People gather there and pray for the restoration of Jerusalem. The Gospel of Luke that Gospel of Luke, what you have to remember, was written 10, 15, maybe even 20 years after the destruction of Jerusalem. And it's written to recall Jesus' story, but it's written on the other side of this horrific event. And Luke was writing to Jewish Christians who certainly considered Jesus the Messiah, but they no longer worshiped in the temple. They lived in a time where it was dangerous to be a Christian. They could be persecuted and put to death for their faith. Christians weren't necessarily welcomed with open arms. Easily, the Christian movement could have been derailed, but There was something inside those people that said, this following Jesus is still worth it. Life for them was not a cakewalk, but it was a grueling endurance race where they needed support and they needed other people around them to lift them up. You know, the text today that I read is certainly written for people who are seeking to follow Jesus. And what Jesus was saying to his followers in his day was, you will face many things. You will face many obstacles and many trials. But he gave them a promise. He says, do not worry. I will be out there to give you what you need. I will indeed be present in the midst of anything you can possibly face. So keep following me, keep your focus on me, keep your focus on what I taught, and rest assured you will always be taken care of. You know, it is an endurance race, this following Jesus, in every generation. And in any endurance race, literally, you recognize that one needs support and one needs reminders that you're not alone. Many people I know who train for a marathon, for example, they train with other people. They run with other people because it makes it easier for them to carry on. The sense is they need that because it gives you encouragement. It's sort of like birds flying together. It makes it easier for all of them to fly. You share the energy. You help stay focused. You help remind the person when time is tough. Keep plugging away. Keep plugging away. I am with you. For other people, you know, when I've run a few races, and one of the things I notice every time I run, I know Judd ran a marathon a couple weeks ago. Every single one I have been at, you see people literally wearing shirts that have other people's names on it, or I'm running for Aunt Judy who's sick. You're putting people you're thankful for on your shirts, or you're in memory of. But the thing I've noticed is so many people rely on the people they're running for to give them strength. It's sort of like a fuel that they can grab hold of in tough times. Every single person, though, in any race, on any journey, needs course support. In what Judd ran a couple weeks ago, there's no doubt there were food and drink and medical care at regular intervals. And there were faithful volunteers who offered or volunteered their time because they said it's going to be cool to be there, to be able to give someone food and drink or cheer them on and say blessings, in a sense, as you go on the next phase of your journey. I've often found that to be a very fitting image for the ministry of the church. We undertake this journey of faith together, you and I and the people of Good Shepherd. Together matters. We don't think about it enough, but being together is incredibly important. You and I, in a sense, we are training partners. We have this gathering for fellowship, for worship, for discussion in Sunday school. Gathering just to greet one another is important because what we do is we boost each other up, we encourage each other. Our presence is saying, it's not just about my connection with God. I recognize that I am here to be a visible witness for other people, and so are all of you. You're here because you want to provide encouragement for each other. The ministry of the church is course support in so many ways. If you think about it, our Stephen ministry, the people who meet with other people in need, they offer an incredible blessing to other people on this journey. We have people in this church who make calls just to check in with other people. We have Sunday school teachers who invest their time and energy with our children and our youth. The outreach in this community that we do in the name of Jesus is to offer course support for others. This time of year, and I often tell my colleagues in ministry, it's so cool to be a part of a church where you lift up an outreach project and you know with great confidence that the people of your church are going to rise to the occasion. We're in hypothermia season at the Goody Drive Men's Shelter. Our numbers went from 60 to 200, and we just know that as we lift that up, we know that you all will just simply make it happen because that's important to you all. The musicians and the choir, they certainly love to sing. But really what they're doing for all of us is offering a message of hope and encouragement. There are some of our course support. Because I know in some cases, the sermon won't hit anyone. But I know sometimes the choir carries the day and that they strike a chord that just touches your heart and your spirit. The ministry of the church is always about persevering through the ups and the downs of the decades and trusting in God's provision at every phase of the journey and reminding ourselves that when push comes to shove, all we're trying to do is follow the words of Jesus in our daily life and to teach others to do the same. You know, as we gather for our annual meeting today, we remember that if we keep our gaze focused on Christ and we keep listening to Him, trying to model what He taught and not just keep it for ourselves, but aggressively reach out and share it with others, this church will thrive for years and years to come. We're about 18 months away from the 50th anniversary of this church. And when we get to that point, we know we'll certainly look back and give thanks with great gratitude for those who started the church and the 5 decades of ministry. But at the same time, you know that what we'll be doing is looking forward to how we're going to plow forward with joy and enthusiasm for the next 50. Perhaps I'll be fortunate to be here when the church turns 100. I'll be 96 years old when that happens. So, and who knows, perhaps my son will be the one who preaches that day when we gather for the 100th. But whether I'm here or not is irrelevant. What matters to us all is that ministry that occurs in this place will keep on going and going and going. It will, if we take it seriously, do our part in this generation and instill the love of God in the next generation. Amen.